Cam Taylor-Britt is a good corner. Dax Hill is not good. DJ Turner has struggled early in his career. Mike Hilton is a good slot corner. Mike Hilton is 4 inches shorter and 20 pounds lighter than Rashee Rice. Like, if the Chiefs get him one-on-one with Mike Hilton, they are going to throw the ball. So, I just think it's one of these things where, like, the Chiefs added a lot of talent this offseason, and Cincinnati got worse.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Hello and welcome into That Football Show here on KC Sports Network. I'm Tucker Franklin, joined as always by Matt Verderame. Super excited to get week 1 in the books. Looking forward to week 2. Thank you to our sponsors, Holiday Distillery and Ben Holiday Bottled in Bond Bourbon. Love the folks that are out at the golf tournament. Got to hang out with them pretty much all day and drink all of their delicious products. I got to try every single one of them. I was quality control at the golf tournament. It was good. The quality was high. I had to make sure. But Matt, how are you? How was your trip to Kansas City?
It was great. Got in on the Wednesday, went to KC Beer, met up with a bunch of friends, bunch of fans of the old podcast, and then Thursday, I went to the game, and that was a boring game. Nothing happened. That was the wildest game I've ever covered in person, and I covered the double doink game with the Bears and the Eagles. Like, that ending was, we don't have to relitigate it with a week ago, all that, but we're up in the press box, and if you've ever been in the press box, there's not supposed to be a lot of noise. Like, you're supposed to watch it. You can talk, but you're kind of supposed to keep it muted. And when likely caught that touchdown, or looked like a touchdown in the back of the end zone, everybody was like, "Oh man, it is crazy!" They're going to go for 2, and this is what it's going to come down to week 1. And then we got all the monitors up over our heads, and we have the NBC feed. Everybody's looking up. The first 2 or 3 shots, you couldn't really tell, and people were just like, "I think he's in. I think he's out." Like, behind me are all the Baltimore Ravens PR staff, right? So everybody's like, "Oh, he's in, he's in." Then you hear other people like, "I don't know if he's in." And then they showed the shot down the line, and full-on panic broke out. It was just like, he's out of bounds. And it was wild. My other favorite part of being in the press box in Kansas City is, without fail, I hear Nate Taylor 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
Cackle about something. And when the Ravens got called for their 5th illegal formation penalty, literally there's no sound in the press box, and I just hear his voice like, "That's 5. That's 5." And he's just laughing. I'm like, that's good, man. It's Nate, up above me to the right. It was a wild game. But hey, they got out of that injury, and then, drove back Friday, and now I'm out in New York. Different background over at the parents for a few days. Got the SI 70th anniversary party tonight. Wow. And, living the dream.
Living the dream, indeed. You are a man on the run, almost, some could say. As you are.
I know.
Yeah, state to state. I did see your tweet about the worst state. I chimed in with, I'm sure that made a lot of people happy. I chimed in with Ohio is what I think the worst state is, which it's not very fun to drive through, and I've only ever driven through Ohio. I don't think I'd ever stopped there, truthfully.
Oh, I've driven through Ohio now probably 30 times, because it's not great. When I go from Illinois to New York, it's a 13-hour drive. So I'm in Illinois, I go through Chicago, then I get right to Indiana. And I'll tell you, you're welcome to Indiana is from that route. It's Gary. So it's like, boom. I mean, you ever get hit with a Tyson right hand, to the jaw? Here comes Gary. And then it's just a fucking field for an hour and a half. The only reason I didn't have Indiana as the worst state is because I like Indianapolis.
Right, yeah.
So when I go to the Combine, I love it. Indy puts on a great show. So I was like, all right, I'll get But they have this thing in Indiana called the RV Motorhome Hall of Fame and Museum. It's the most disgraceful fucking thing I've ever seen. With all due respect to everyone who owns an RV, I got nothing against you. I don't need a Winnebago in the Hall of Fame. I don't need it. So, I go through Indiana, then 3.5 hours through Ohio.
Yeah.
Or to Cleveland. 45 minutes in PA, 4.5 hours in New York. There were a couple of people that said New York was the worst state, and I was ready to fight those people on the spot.
Yeah, I didn't agree with that.
And listen, I get if you don't like New York City, that's fine. But I was like, have you ever been to the Adirondacks? Yeah. Have you ever been to Lake Placid? Have you ever been to the water? Right. I'm sorry. Have you ever been to Iowa? Okay. The highest elevation is 8 feet. It's a cornfield, for Christ's sake. And all it is windmills. And I got like a couple people in my mentions who are like, how dare you say Iowa? Like, it's like, okay, calm down.
Yeah.
Point out, like, what am I supposed to be enamored with? Like, Iowa State football? Like, what is winning me over in Iowa? I'm sorry, Caitlin Clark's not even there anymore. It's over.
True.
Okay, Iowa's my winner. Although the Mississippi was the voting winner.
Yeah. Hey, Brett Favre's from there. He sucks.
That's maybe part of the problem currently.
Yeah, actually, yeah. See, that is actually currently part of the problem is Brett Favre still resides in Mississippi.
Now, the funds have been funneled allegedly to
allegedly, yeah. Sorry, cover our tracks. He will sue us, actually.
Yes, it is alleged, but it is alleged. Oh my God. Yeah. So that was just lovely.
Yeah, I thought that was a very fun thread. I always love dunking on states, and honestly, like Illinois, not a huge fan of driving through Illinois, but like Chicago does save it.
Yeah, and Illinois. No, I'll tell you, Illinois is terrible.
Yeah,
Chicago's great, and it's on a great lake. Like, I'm a big water guy, so
yeah.
If you're on a lake, if you're on the ocean, you're immediately like off my crap list as far as I'm concerned. Like, okay, I can go to the beach. I can get the views. Again, biggest body of water in Iowa, a puddle. Okay, I know there are people right now watching this who are like, "You go to hell. I'm from Iowa." Calm down. Okay, but when your biggest attraction is the world's largest truck stop, we got problems.
I love your disdain for Iowa. Truthfully, I didn't.
And it is fervent.
I didn't know it was this deep rooted. But I do appreciate it. Look, folks, you might be wondering, hey, your guys' podcast is not coming out on Thursday. Yeah, we're not coming out on Thursdays. Amateur Hour is on Wednesday, so you can listen to those guys. Really good show last week from Dirk and Ryan Scott Hall. Those guys, man, OGs of the podcast game there. With those two guys. Love to listen to their show. Somebody said in the comment section of the Amateur Hour show, like, why does the deep dive sound effect sound like a bong rip? Funny because it is. That is exactly what it is. You guys really sniffed that one out. But Matt, let's talk about the Chiefs and Bengals game coming up here. Yep. Big rivalry. Look, for me, and I was having a conversation with the live guys about this. I titled their game preview stream without their permission, right? Because, they weren't really talking to me, so I was like, fine, I'll title it myself. Since you guys aren't going to tell me what you guys want me to title it, I'll just do it myself. And I titled it, Why the Chiefs Have No Pressure Going Into This Bengals Game. Ken disagreed with that. Ken thinks that they don't have any pressure. Maddie and I both agreed that, look, they have a whole lot of less pressure than the Cincinnati Bengals do in this game. If they lose this game, they could still maybe even comfortably win the number 1 seed. So, like, there's not as much pressure, I don't think, on the Chiefs going into this game as it is the Bengals.
Yeah, so Swanson disagrees with that and thinks there's more pressure on the Chiefs?
Well, I don't know if he thinks there's more pressure on the Chiefs. He does think that there is some pressure on the Chiefs to still win this football game. Like, I think if they lose this game, Matt will be 100% honest with you, my needle's not moved one way or the other. If it's a close game and they lose it, I don't think I'm affected in one way.
Yeah, I mean, look, I would say that I think, like, every game, of course, you want to win. I think,
right,
of course, they beat Baltimore. Like, I kind of went into the season thinking their 5 hardest games, in my opinion, are the 2 games they're playing to start the year.
Yep.
The Niners, the Bills, the Texans.
Mm-hmm.
Unless Tampa Bay proves to be really legitimate, which I have questions. Like, those other 12 games are a significant step down.
Yeah.
Like in a way that you'd be like, if they lose any of those games, and I'm not saying they won't, but if they lose any of those games, like, you're going to be at least moderately pissed off. Like, how did they lose to that team? I kind of went into the season thinking if they split the first 2 games, they're fine. You just don't want to go 0-2. You don't want to get off to some slow start. You're 0-2, and then you got to battle back. So in that sense, if they lose the game, like, I don't think it's some disaster. Like, unless they have some crushing injury or whatever.
Yeah.
I will say this though, this is a big opportunity for them. Absolutely. Because if they win this game, I know this sounds dumb after 2 weeks. Cincinnati's buried as far as the Chiefs are concerned. They're just not going to catch them. If the Chiefs are healthy, Cincinnati's not going to catch them. Because you think, okay, it's like, that's stupid, 2-0, 2. Yeah, but your 2 games up have a breaker. You've played 2 of your hardest games. Cincinnati's got to play in that division. So those 6 games are all going to be hell on earth, right? And even if Pittsburgh and Cleveland aren't great, those games were always fist fights. They just are. They're low scoring. They go down to the wire. And the other side of it, too, is like, let's say if the Chiefs beat Cincinnati. Let's say the rest of the year they go 11-4, which I think is pretty reasonable considering the schedule and who they are. Cincinnati can lose one more game the rest of the year. Good luck.
Yeah.
Like if they split with Baltimore, they've got to run the freaking table otherwise. They're not doing that. So if I'm the Chiefs, that's my motivation. I'm looking at this.
Yeah.
We win this game. We put them in a chokehold 2 weeks into the year. Yeah, sure. Look, they can get off the mat and make the playoffs. They can win the division. But they're not going to catch us. Like, if I'm the Chiefs, that's how I'm looking at it. And I'm also looking at it like, now if the players want to view it this way, because it's week to week. But
yeah,
from my perspective, if you get to 2-0, you're going to Atlanta on a Sunday night. Right. I went and looked this up. So Kirk Cousins, since he became a full-time starter in 2015 with that at the time, the Washington Redskins, he has played, since that time, 48 games against teams that eventually made the playoffs that year. You want to know what his record is in those games?
I would like to know that.
11-37.
Oh.
Okay? And by the way, his team made the playoffs a lot of those years.
Yeah.
So it's not like he was on teams that were just a disaster. In 48 games since 2015, as a starting quarterback in the NFL, when Cousins has played against another team that year went to the playoffs, 11-37. Wow. And I don't know if you happen to catch him in week 1. He can't move.
No. It looked
not
bad.
even a little bit. Like, if they get pressure on him in that game, it's over.
Yeah.
So, I don't think there's so much pressure on the Chiefs as much as I think there's a big opportunity ahead of them.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with you. The opportunity is there for the Chiefs to put away, not necessarily the conference, but kind of put away the conference pretty early. Because they still do have to play Buffalo. Like, they have to still put that. But if you have the tiebreaker over who have been the last 2 opponents you faced in the AFC Championship game, that's a pretty good seat to be in. And look, I know that they know that the opportunity that they have ahead of them, I'm sure that they are firmly aware of the opportunity that they have ahead of them. I always think it's funny, Matt, when we, like we were just talking about, like the Falcons game, right? That comes up after this game. I always love it when we will see the comments, inevitably in the YouTube comments or the tweets that'll come in and be like, we got to focus on the Bengals. Buddy, I don't play for the team. I can talk about the Falcons.
I can talk about week 8 if I feel like it.
Yeah, we can talk about whatever. What we do does not have any impact on the team. I always find those comments very funny because as you were talking about like the Falcons, I was like, man, somebody's in the comment section. They're typing out their response. We got to stay focused on the Bengals. This is a really big team. This is a really big game coming up. We don't have to. We really don't. Because
we can talk about the Christmas Day game.
Right. We can talk about whatever we want. We are not in the building. We are not on the team. We are not playing football games. Yes. Nevertheless, still a big game. I know I started off by kind of downplaying the Chiefs' pressure rating coming into it, but still a big game. Obviously a big game. Whenever these two teams get together, there's always some sort of there's a rivalry there. There is. But the Bengals always seem to play to their best. Also, is it Bengals or Bengals? I feel like I've gone back and forth this podcast.
I always say Bengals.
With a long A? Bengals?
Yeah, I mean, out of Mason, New York. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the Midwest would say it differently. You know what I say as? 0-1.
There you go.
Okay. They lost to the Patriots, which would be a federal offense. To lose to that team at home is damn near impossible.
Yeah.
They scored 10. So real, serious, genuine analysis of this. I am very curious to see what Burrow looks like in this game.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how much everybody watched that game. I saw a good bit of it, and then I went back and watched it kind of on replay. Burrow is flexing his wrist, literally, the entire game. Just between plays, between series. There's a video that's gone viral of him trying to pick up a Gatorade bottle, and looks kind of like a challenge. He threw the ball 6 times in the air over 10 yards in that game. I mean, if you're Spags, don't you kind of have to go into this game, especially if they don't have Higgins, and say, look, we're going to double Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
and we're going to single you up everywhere else and not let you throw underneath. And if you want to beat the defense deep with Andre Yoshavash and Trenton Irwin, you go nuts. Like, I mean, if I'm Spags in this game, and look, for all Chiefs fans out there, thank God I'm not, okay? But if I'm him, if Higgins doesn't go in the game, and right now we don't know if he's going to play, he's day-to-day with a hamstring, he didn't practice on Wednesday.
Yeah.
If he doesn't go in the game, I'm putting McDuffie on Chase, and I'm putting a safety over the top just to really clamp down on him. Who else scares you? This isn't the days when they had Tyler Boyd and Joe Mixon and, like Burrow was 100%. I mean, you're worried about, like, their running game? I feel like this is the classic game where Chase Brown will rush for, like, 80 yards on 20 carries, and Chiefs fans will get annoyed, and Spags is going to be like, yep, don't care. Let him run for 80 yards on 20 carries. It's fine. I'm just curious in this game when Burrow's on the field, like, can he throw the ball? Can he legitimately... Because, it was funny. I was thinking about it after watching that game. I saw the Bengals twice in the summer. I saw them in a joint practice in Chicago, and I saw them in their own building. And I started thinking about it. I never saw Burrow throw the ball deep down the field. In two whole practice, I never saw, unless it's escaping me, but I really racked my brain. I don't remember him ever throwing the ball over 20, 25 yards in the air. That doesn't mean he can't do it, but I don't remember him ever doing it the 2 days I was there. I saw him in a lot of team periods, and I never once saw him air the ball.
That's interesting, especially when you combine that with Jamar Chase's comments about him only having 6 targets, and you say, got to ask the coaching staff of why he only got targeted. Yeah. Vibes are high. Vibes are high in that locker room. You can tell.
Way to really hey, I haven't shown up all summer. Why the hell didn't I get the ball 15 times? Consider in Christ. You weren't there all summer. It's just, oh my goodness. The bang, that is the one genuine question. I'm curious your thoughts on this. Yeah. What happens if the Chiefs blow them out? Do they rally or do they completely implode?
It would be hard to see. To see them rally would be incredible. I think that would be a huge feat. I think it's more likely that they implode just because of how that team is already. Look, Trey Hendrickson is playing on a trade request, right? He requested to be traded in April. They've got Trim Brown, also bad at football. Not good.
It was not good.
It was. I think Ken Swanson called him unplayable, and I would agree with that. But look, they don't have another option. I do think that when it gets down to it, if they go 0-2, they get blown out by the Chiefs, they lose to the Patriots. Man, that starts to look like rock bottom. It is starting to look like maybe Jamar Chase is like, you know what? Maybe I don't want to play this year. I think right. He's like, you know what? 1-2, I'll play 1-2. Week 3, no shot. But you mentioned their schedule. They're playing a 4th place schedule. They're playing a schedule.
They get the Commanders and the Panthers the following 2 weeks or something.
Yeah. So they can easily go 2-2. So I wouldn't be shocked if they do bounce back but that division is tough. You mentioned it. I think the Ravens win the division. I think the Steelers are sneaky. I think the Browns stink out loud because of their quarterback. And their quarterback is the big reason. If they play Jameis, I have a conversation.
I'm a dialogue. It's 2 games. I really I think, look, if the Chiefs beat the Bengals and it's a close game, it's 27-24 and it's tight and it's nip and tuck. Okay, I think for the Bengals it's annoying, but you're all right, look, that's more who we are. We'll go crush Washington.
Yeah.
We'll get right. If they lose this game 34-10, and it's just a bloodbath from the opening kickoff, I do wonder if that starts to be a thing where you get some wild quotes in the locker room after that game. Just crazy stuff. Because to your point, Hendrickson wants out. I asked Trey Hendrickson about that in the locker room when I was there in August. Literally, I'm like, you want him to be traded. How you feeling about that right now? And he basically was like, yeah, look, we've talked about it and we're on the same page and we're just going to go from there. And it was very he didn't want to talk about it. Higgins is on the tag and wants to be traded. Yeah. Chase wants to get paid and didn't get paid. I wonder, not so much if they lose, but if this game's one of those games where it's just like, oh my God, the Chiefs are pouring it on. And look, let's be real. If there's ever a team, if the Chiefs can really lay it on them, it's going to be this team.
Yeah.
Like, this is not going to be the game where Andy's running up 20. They are going to just throw it and throw it and throw. I mean, and then Cantel or Britt yesterday saying, well, yeah, I'm paraphrasing, but all Xavier Worthy does is run straight.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that, it's a lot of, I'm not saying they're going to blow them out. It has the earmarkings of a game that you could just see like, oh my God, the Chiefs are just laying waste to them in this thing. I mean, it has some red flags for that.
It does. It does seem like everything is coming up Chiefs when it comes to this matchup. I did appreciate Xavier Worthy was at the podium on Wednesday, and someone asked him about, I can't remember who asked him about Jamar Chase, and it was a very good move by the rookie to say nothing but complimentary things about Jamar Chase and how good of a wide receiver he is. And look, I mean, Jamar Chase, phenomenal wide receiver, had a great year at LSU, highly touted draft pick, very good at football, and arguably is part of the reason Joe Burrow is as good as he is. He does. I think he deserves to get paid. Maybe he's not handling it the best way, but look, the next time a wide receiver handles a contract negotiation the right way, it'll be the first time. So I think that's just kind of how it goes. It is a very volatile team right now because you just don't know what's going to come out of that locker room next. It just feels like you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop in Cincinnati, and I cannot imagine vibes are very high when people are gathered out eating their Skyline chili. There's
a non-zero chance that Jamar Chase is screaming at somebody important on the sideline about midway through the third quarter.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's a world here where like we get a shot of like Taylor Swift up in the box and the Chiefs are up 27-10 with like 5 minutes left in the third quarter, and then they pan down and you get like, because Nance and Romo are on the call for this game, and they pan down and Chase is just screaming at Zach Taylor, and you get like the old Romo like, oh, can't do that, Jim. Can't do that. Got to figure it out. It's everybody's competitive, but can't have that. I mean, I feel like we're a blowout away from like that kind of situation unfolding, where it's just everybody losing their minds and screaming. I will say this: on Sunday, I had somebody around the league text me apropos of nothing, and they were like, "I got to tell you, talk to somebody I trust. Bengals." Not a good room right now. Not good. I mean, no. This guy's talking. Who knows? But I just, figured I would toss that out there as a little additive.
Yeah. I think that the public indications of the Bengals are not a good sign. And look, the Chiefs hopefully can capitalize off of that. We have known the Chiefs to be in opportune situations before and not quite capitalize on those situations. But then it eventually all works out. I think one of the conversations we had about there's been opportunities where the Chiefs could clinch up a 1 seed early, but then they don't clinch it until 2 or 3 weeks later. But they still get it done. Nevertheless, these two teams always play close games when they play together. Zach Taylor coaches his best football against the Kansas City Chiefs, which maybe he just think he's playing the Chiefs all the time. I mean, he'd be a better coach. But anyway, I digress.
Wow, Zach Taylor catching a stray. Listen, you know what? Honestly, I think is the biggest challenge for Chiefs in this game is Lou Anarumo.
Absolutely.
He's an excellent defensive coordinator. Now, the question for me in this game is, does Cincinnati have the goods? Like, do they have the talent to hold up? I think that's the one thing that kind of gets overlooked right now. The Bengals just aren't as talented as they've been. Like, they don't have Boyd. They don't have Mixon. We'll see if they have Higgins. They do have a good front. They've got Hendrickson. They've got Hubbard. They've got Sheldon Rankins, who's replacing DJ Reader.
Yep.
Logan Wilson didn't practice on Wednesday. That's a real injury to monitor. Like, that guy is a good football player. They're good at backer with him and Jermaine Pratt. That secondary is not good.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
correct.
Von Bell has had a very nice career. Von Bell's 100 years old.
In football,
Geno Stone. No one knew who Geno Stone was until he had 7 interceptions last year. And listen, that's not to say that Geno Stone's not a good player. I think he's a good player, but he's not Kyle Hamilton. Like, their corners, Cam Taylor-Britt is a good corner. Dax Hill is not good. DJ Turner has struggled early in his career. Mike Hilton is a good slot corner. Mike Hilton is 4 inches shorter and 20 pounds lighter than Rashee Rice. Like, if the Chiefs get him one-on-one with Mike Hilton, they are going to throw the ball. So, I just think it's one of these things where, like, the Chiefs added a lot of talent this offseason, and Cincinnati got worse.
Yeah.
Like, almost inarguably got worse. So, Adam Rumo is going to have to really come up with something. And he even talked, I was reading in The Athletic, he talked about that, well, yeah, Chiefs going to move the ball in this game. They're going to. Like, we have to win the red zone, and we got to turn them over. And he's probably right. That's probably the game.
This has the makings to be another Rashee Rice game. I really loved how Rashee Rice looked in game one, how they used him kind of in like the RPO stuff, and I think Kent called them China routes, but they're like slants, but also they have variations off of them where he could just like sit down or he could keep carrying. Again, it's part of the injured offensive, like a wide receiver has to read the defense to run that route, and then the quarterback also has to read the wide receiver's mind to know where he's going to go. Is another type of the offense, but I did love how they used him across the middle. People are calling Rashee Rice slant man now. I don't know if you've seen this. He's now slant man. He's now not slant boy because that's Michael Thomas. You can't take that from him. But he is slant man, and I think it kind of works with like Ant-Man being Paul Rudd being from Kansas City. So I think it can kind of all flows together. But I do think this is kind of as you mentioned, just matchup wise, seems like it's primed for another big Rashee Rice game.
Yeah, it could be. It could definitely be. He's a lot bigger than Mike Hilton. Yeah. Like, if they wanted to body Mike Hilton, they can do it. I'll tell you what, man. They get Xavier Worthy on Dax Hill.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and test that a few times. See what we got. Like, they don't have a guy who's the prototypical free safety. Like, Von Bell's a strong safety, bigger, down to the bottom. Like, Geno Stone's a football. Like, he's not Ed Reed. Like, if I'm the Chiefs in this game, I'd be like, let's see if we can't, like, hold his attention to the middle of the field and run a go route. See what happens. Yeah. I mean, I'm curious in this game. But, yeah, look, Rashee Rice is kind of morphing into that, like, hey, it's 3rd and 6 and Kelsey's not open. Guess what? Like, I'm just going to rifle shot this thing in there, and it's worked. I mean, if you're the Chiefs, if you're Patrick Mahomes, you're like, I can throw the ball to this guy in tight windows, and he's going to make play. One thing about Wright, he's not the fastest guy in the world, but he's big. Like, he can just ball guys off, and you got a quarterback who just put it on him wherever he wants to put it. So, hey, look, man, if I get to step on Hilton, throw it in front of me, throw it away I could just wall him off, and get down the field.
What I think is so impressive about Rashee Rice, and then we can move on. We got Benny talking about his picks for Underdog Fantasy. We got to get to that because I know you guys listen to the show. You're trying to build your picks and everything like that. You want to get Benny's picks in here.
As much as Heisler's my guy, and I love the debt. Can we make fun of Heisler's pick of the Panthers?
Yeah, we definitely can. Okay.
I'm going to text him and be, what is wrong with you?
That didn't make air, unfortunately. I had to make an editorial choice on that one because we have some. But yes, so Benny's pick last week of Panthers did not make air because we had some.
It now.
It did now because we had some differences in some verbiage with Underdog. All you know how like these sports book fantasy sites, they very particular with their verbiage. So I just cut it all out there. I said, you know what? Don't worry about it. He had Panthers plus 4.5. We won't talk about it.
Everyone needs to know that he had Panthers plus 4.5. I want to know how quickly did he regret that? Was it at the anthem? Like, were they like Rockets red glare and Heisler was like, oh my God, I need to hedge. Like, probably we get a shot of like Bryce Young just staring into the oblivion, like Bryce Young just looking out, like almost like looking at like a non-battlefield. Like, oh my, because I feel like that he looked about as comfortable as if he was in that situation. Not good, good. I was watching the score just increasingly explode. I'm like, man, I hope Heisler didn't actually bet this in real life. Oh my God,
very funny. It was very funny. But what I was saying before I got squirreled by the pick. Benny's picks coming later. I'm impressed with how the Chiefs have used Rashee Rice because he was not at all used like that in college. And like that is to me hilarious. That like Rashee Rice was like a kind of an outside, uses a bigger body, vertical threat, and everyone when he was drafted were just like, okay, like, okay, that's fine, I guess. I don't know. And then he's used completely different in Kansas City.
And he got all those, like, listen, Rashee, you know how every route you ran at SMU was 40 yards down the field? How do you feel about running 4-yard routes? How do you feel about that?
How do you feel about turning around?
Your average ADOT's going to be about 3 feet. Right. And we're going to just let you catch the ball and truck somebody. That's going to be how we're going to use you. Which crazy credit. Like, yeah, I was at the game on Thursday night. Everybody was watching. Like, anytime they wanted to get the ball to Rashee Rice, they're like, it's not a problem. We're just going to isolate him in the middle of the field on a linebacker and kill whoever the hell linebacker is. And no shot. Like, even Roquan Smith was just getting torched to death. Which, look, you're a linebacker. You're going to get torched by a receiver. But then they put Marlon Humphrey on him for a little while, and that didn't help. Mm-hmm. And then Marlon Humphrey kicked outside against Xavier Worthy, and that really didn't help.
Yeah.
But that was hilarious play to watch him up top in real time. Oh. Because for whatever I think it was because if you watch that play, Worthy's initially on that side by himself. And then they motion Juju across. And you're like, okay, so now the Ravens bring another guy over. And then right before the snap, Pacheco sprinted out there. And I think that's what caused the confusion. Like Humphrey, I think, saw Pacheco and was like, I'm going to sit in the flat and somebody's going to help me up top. Like nobody did. But I was watching Worthy because the initial lineup, there was no safety over. It's like Humphrey cannot see what I'm seeing, obviously. I'm like, there's nobody behind this guy. Like, I wonder if Mahomes is going to throw this because I thought it was man coverage. I think it was man coverage. And it was, one-on-one. And I'm like, man, we're going to get Worthy, no safety help, but let's see what happens. And I'm watching him and he starts running and Humphrey just sat and I'm like, Am I blind? Am I missing a defender on the field? Like, and then like the guy next to me is like, he's wide open, and then Mahomes just uncorks it, hits him right in stride.
Yeah,
crazy. Like, it's one of those things. Like the second the play started to develop, you're like, oh my god, if Mahomes sees him, this is the easiest touchdown. There is nobody within 25 yards of him, and obviously that's all.
Yeah, very excited for this game coming up here. We're going to talk to Benny about his picks, and then we will come back right after that, and we're going to talk about the rest of the NFL. Got a fun new segment for you guys coming up. But Benny, what's going on? Benny, thanks for hopping on with us at That Football Show. Appreciate you joining us. I'm really excited to get this going every week. We're going to be talking NFL picks because I know people who are listening to this podcast here, Benny. I do the same thing where I listen to the podcast and I think, man, I need to get my picks in for this weekend. What do I do? And Benny, you are here to save us. You are here, if people are on the Underdog Fantasy app, to give us your picks for the NFL season. Super excited to have you first off. How you doing? How you been?
I'm good, Tuck. It's good to be back. It's good to be incorporated the swing of things. I get to hang out with you, which I always love. I get to hang out with Verderame, my guy from our time during together in the fan-sided days, and then he went to Sports Illustrated, where I was originally before going to Fansided and Minute Media. So, like, I feel like we're all simpatico here. Like, we're all there's a force. There's a good force between the three of us. So I'm thrilled to be back.
It's super exciting. We'll eventually get the schedule worked out where all three of us could be on the screen at the same time too. That's the plan. But early on in the season, week one, some exciting action going on in week one. Things feel really good, but we're headed on to week two, Underdog Fantasy, as we mentioned. Look, sign up with that code KCSN. You guys can get your free pick, plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. That's at Underdog Fantasy, code KCSN. Benny, what are you looking at this week for your NFL-wide picks?
Okay, so I want to start at the quarterback position. I got three for you, Tuck. So we can go quarterback, we can go running back, and wide receiver. And really with an opportunity here to cheer for some action, right? I think most of the time, if you're looking at a lot of these higher, lower picks, more often than not, the sharper side is going to be on the lower side. I think
Correct.
Most fans and in most fantasy players, especially with Underdog, they're cheering for some action, but knowing that the number is likely going to move throughout the course of the week, it becomes a little bit more difficult. But I think I found three plays this week that I think you can feel confident in the higher part of the higher lower side. So let's talk with Lamar Jackson. I like him to go higher than 19 completions this week at home against Las Vegas. We saw him throw the ball a ton in that Thursday night opener against Kansas City. Had 41 attempts, 26 completions. Now, he also ran a lot, too. 16 carries, 122 rushing yards, and they needed him to. That Lamar and Isaiah Likely were the bulk of the offense last week. At home against a Raiders secondary that was projected to be bottom 5 coming into the year. They looked okay against the Chargers last week, but at home in an opportunity to bring Las Vegas on the road into Baltimore, I just think it's going to be a much easier matchup for Lamar to stay in the pocket. Mark Andrews is going to have a better game than he had last week. We've already seen Isaiah Likely establish himself. They're running a lot more 12 personnel, so they have both tight ends on the field. And that's going to open things up to more opportunities for easy completions for Lamar. He's not going to have to take off as much. Justice Hill even caught 6 passes. I just think knowing with Lamar's time that he's missed over the last several years, they want to keep him healthy. And I know that in this type of opportunity, a bounce back game, he's going to throw from the pocket a little bit more often. So I like the over 19 completions against a fairly soft Raiders secondary to start week 2.
I like that pick too. I think that's a really good pick to throw in there. The completions make sense. They want to get the confidence back. They're going to go against the Raiders team, as you mentioned, not a very good Raiders team. I do like that a whole lot, especially with the tight ends coming on for the Baltimore Ravens as well. You mentioned a running back. Let's get it to the ground game. What do you got for us there?
Not necessarily a sexy name on the ground, but Rachaad White of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I like him to go higher than 25.5 receiving yards against the Lions this week. There's a lot of hype from Tampa Bay last week for a team that I think a lot of folks maybe expected to take a step back after Baker Mayfield did such a good job last year. But Baker played great. Mike Evans had 2 touchdowns. There was a lot of hype surrounding their rookie running back, Bucky Irving. But if you look at Rachaad White's numbers, he had 6 receptions, 75 yards last week against Washington. Wasn't great on the ground, only had 30 yards rushing. But I really liked what Liam Cohen, their new offensive coordinator, did in the screen game. They got the ball out to him in space. In fact, Rachaad White, for as much love as Bucky Irving is getting this week, big fantasy name that people are picking up for their season-long leagues, the most receiving yards after the catch in week 1 was Rachaad White. Now, the Lions defense is going to be better than Washington, but I expect them to be able to get him the ball in space a little bit more often. The Lions pass rush is dominant, so you can get Baker getting the ball out quickly. Rachaad White has already proven his ability as a pass catcher, so I think 25.5 receiving yards is more than a fair number for him to be able to exceed, especially with a game script projection that the Bucs are probably going to be playing from behind a little bit. Rachaad White, higher 25.5 receiving yards against the Lions.
I like that too. I like to place hires on these running backs that are good out of the backfield catching the football. It's sometimes an easy little sneaky at 25.5. You mentioned that number there. It's a little sneaky number that you can get there on those higher picks as well. Do enjoy that a lot. Let's hit some wide receivers now. Who do you got for your last pick here?
All right, so this is going to be going with a theme that I think if you're looking at a lot of these games this week and maybe you're starting to figure out, all right, who are the teams that are projected to win and maybe where is the overreaction coming from? This particular receiver had a lot of high hopes coming into this year and was a bit of a dud in week 1, and that's Christian Kirk of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, Christian Kirk, not good in week 1, but we've seen this movie before in Jacksonville after he signed that big deal. So week 1 this year, 4 targets, 1 reception, 30 yards. That happened last year. He had 3 targets, 1 reception, and only 9 yards. You know what he did the following week? He had 14 targets, 11 receptions, and 110 yards. This is a number for Kirk. Even though he missed a few games due to injury, he only went lower than 47.5 yards receiving twice last season. I like what I've seen from Brian Thomas. I think he's going to be a really solid impact rookie wide receiver, but he's also on the outside. They have Denzel Ward there. They went ahead and got another solid corner. Greg Newsom's fine in the slot, but I do think it's a matchup that Kirk can take advantage of, and I think he's going to see a lot more targets this week. Remember, week 1, there's always so much overreaction heading into week 2, and 47.5 receiving yards, that to me is just too low of a number for Christian Kirk. I think he's going to get plenty of targets. I think he's going to get a bunch of volume. They're going to need to score points. So give me the higher on 47.5 receiving yards for Jacksonville's high-paid wide receiver in Christian Kirk.
I'm with you on all three of these. Cleveland's defense didn't look too spectacular either. That might be the big moving force for me in this one. Not too high on Cleveland coming out of week one. Matt and I will talk about that here in a little bit. But Benny, appreciate you hopping on here, giving us your picks for on Underdog Fantasy. Love the folks over there at Underdog Fantasy. Hey, and if you have not downloaded the app yet, go do that. Help us out by using that code KCSN to claim your free pick plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Link is in the description. You can also just download the app in your app store and then enter promo code KCSN as well. Really do appreciate it. Benny, thanks for hopping on.
Anytime, Top. Talk to you soon.
All right, let's take a break. We'll be back to you right after this.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
You know when you discover a new binge-worthy show or a song that you bump on repeat and you have to share it with your friends so they can experience just how awesome it is? That's kind of what it feels like when you discover Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. That's such an awesome deal, there's no way you can keep it to yourself. Friends don't let friends overpay for wireless. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plan and switch to Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you and your squad with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all of your existing contacts. Ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/KCSNTFS. That's mintmobile.com/KCSNTFS. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/KCSNTFS. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Welcome back into That Football Show here on KC Sports Network. Tucker Franklin hanging out with Matt Verderame. Thank you to our sponsors, Holiday Distillery, Ben Holiday Bottled and Bond Bourbon, Mint Mobile, all the 9 yards, Underdog Fantasy. Love the folks there. Look, again, sign up with promo code KCSN. You can get some special goodies when you sign up with that promo code at Underdog Fantasy. Matt, let's get into the rest of the league here. As you guys know, if you listen to the podcast, if you're a listener of That Football Show, if you are a football guy, you know that here we talk about the entire league. You know what? We got to see a week of football, Matt. And, you know, sometimes when you know. And sometimes you're just told when it's time. And I think it's time to put some teams to rest.
Yeah, it's a sad, but sometimes in life it's time to lay down. And 2 teams this week to say goodbye to. We're going to start. He's a Superdome in Louisiana, where the Carolina Panthers and Ben Heisler's bet aged like sour milk in the desert. When the first play of the game offensively is the interception, and then you start with an interception, it is time to say, here lie the Carolina Panthers, 2024 to 2024. It was a short life. It was an unmemorable one. At least they have their first-round pick. We say goodbye to Carolina. We say goodbye to the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos, 0-1. Might as well be 0-17. Bo Nix, charged at the challenge. He threw 2 interceptions. He averaged 3 yards per 40 passes. I guess you could call that a blaze of glory. It certainly may never be done again. With Broncos, 0-1, Broncos. I'm to lay down. Denver, Carolina, God. We are left with 30 teams.
Beautiful.
It's tough when you have to do that because, look, you go into the season with hopes and dreams and you're hoping to at least have a competitive year. And then you watch those two teams play football. And it becomes incredibly evident neither of those things are going to happen. I got to tell you, we might be 1 week away from the Raiders also having to get last rites because it wasn't great. And when you're punting down 6 on a 4th and 1 from the other team's 43-yard line, doesn't bode well for what we're going to see going forward.
No, it really doesn't. And I think that very well done, very beautifully done. And those eulogies for those two teams. Look, as I mentioned before we started, when you know, you know. And I think it was very evident for both you and I that those two teams were, as the kids say, cooked. They were cooked. Bryce Young might actually be the problem. I know a lot of people want to be like, oh, it's the offensive line, it's not Bryce Young. He might have actually been the problem because I don't think that the offensive line was like, obviously they're not good, but like, I don't think
it was the first offensive play of the game.
Yeah.
Like
in the first one after halftime too, right? If I'm not mistaken.
It was the first drive after halftime. Yeah. He just wailed it in the coverage. It was all right. I mean, it's not good. And as far as Denver is concerned, like you threw for 3.3 yards per attempt on 42 passes. That's impossible. Like, you didn't just have like a crosser that went for 20 yards? Like,
yeah,
that's insane. You want the long, so, all right. So Denver had 2 pass plays in the game that went for double-digit yardage, which is ridiculous. Like 2 and 42 attempts. One was for 25 yards to Josh Reynolds. One was for 17 yards to Cortland Sutton. So if you take those 2 throws out just for a moment, because 42 yards, Knicks threw 40 times otherwise for 96 yards. Like, how?
Yeah.
How is that possible? He threw 2 picks, and if you watch the game, he should have thrown 3 other ones.
Yeah.
This is why, though, and it's got to be said, this is why, for everyone watching this, the preseason means nothing. It always means nothing. He got people to believe, oh, he looks amazing. No, he's not. Like, look, nothing. It's not anything against Bo Nix personally. I don't know the kid, nothing against him. But, like, he just happened to be this year's Kenny Pickett. Like, last year it was Kenny Pickett. And this year we had to listen to, man, he carved up the Packers. Yeah, it's their 3rd team. He should carve up the Packers. He should carve up the 2nd team of the Colts.
Right.
Yeah. And guess what? They went and played against Mike McDonald, and it was like, oh, my God, what do I do? That's fine. He's a rookie. Like, fair enough. But that's the point. Like, people just go crazy over this stuff. I was looking at predictions out of Denver, like people who cover them. I saw 6 predictions for that game. 5 of them picked the Broncos to win that game.
Well,
why? Based on what evidence? You beat up on the Colts, the 3rd team. It's all going to get cut. Like, and now they're going to go home and play Pittsburgh.
Right.
The over-under for Denver, and I'm kidding, but it's not the real line. I have no idea what the real line is. The over-under for Denver scoring in that game is seriously got to be 10 points. They're going to score 10 points in that game? Good luck to them. They needed 2 safeties and 2 red zone turnovers to score 10 points against Seattle.
Yeah.
Full woof. But yeah, so we have laid them to rest.
Mm-hmm.
It had to be done.
Yeah. Look, this doesn't mean we won't still talk mess on them. We'll still bury the Broncos even further.
Of course.
Yeah. That's what you guys tune into this podcast for, is for us to dog walk the Panthers and the Broncos. But my favorite Bo Nix play, he did have that like spinning end zone run, right? And I thought that was very funny. But My favorite one is when he just confidently uncorked one into triple coverage and was like a clear interception, and the broadcaster was like, "Oh no!" when he went to go throw it. He was like, 1, 2, 3, boom.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
Here's a question. If you're a Colorado sports fan right now, your two quarterbacks are Shedeur Sanders and Bo Nix.
Yes.
If you're the Broncos, do you think you take Shedeur Sanders over Bo Nix?
Like, would you draft him next year?
Yeah.
Or would I just take him right this second?
Let's say you draft him next year.
I will give you this take, and maybe it's I don't care. I think it's a fair take. Shedeur Sanders, right or wrong, I feel like if you draft him, you're drafting a whole lot of the stuff too.
Yeah.
You're drafting Deion.
Mm-hmm.
I got to tell you, you couldn't pay me enough to deal with Deion Sanders. Like, can you imagine Deion with his kid down the street at the games? Oh my God, man. A great player.
No, yeah.
But like, let's call it what it is here. Deion's about Deion. Like, all about Deion all the time. Okay? And if I'm the Broncos, I'd be like, oh my God, if we take this kid, we got to deal with this guy day in, day out, unendingly. Like, there's the report out there, and I don't know if it's been confirmed, that he won't have the Colorado band play the fight song when they score a touchdown, when Shedeur throws a touchdown pass, so they can play his rap song.
Yeah.
What the fuck are we talking about? Are you kidding me? And you got to love Colorado to be like, okay, whatever you want. You don't win a game. You're terrible. Like, it's like you're 10-2 with this guy, and it's like, okay, well, we got to do it because he's the second coming of Nick Saban.
Right.
You stink. Matt Rule just put it on you. Okay? Like, it's enough out of you. But my answer would be, do I think he's more talented than Bo Nix? Hell yeah. Do I want the drama that comes with him? No. But if you're Denver, like, if this is what you're looking at for the next 16 games, tough to make the argument you're going to be Kansas City out in the division anytime soon.
You can't tell me that Jared Stidham and Zach Wilson are worse than that.
I got to tell you.
Maybe they are.
It might be. Like, they really might. I wonder if Peyton went home after that game and just put on that, what is it, Simon and Garfunkel, like, hello, darkness, my old friend. And just sat down with, like, the biggest bottle of, like, Jack he could find. I mean, I bet you a lot of Broncos fans did. So, that game was brutal. Watching Bo Nix playing that game, I got to be honest, there was actually part of it I felt bad for him. Like, this is ridiculous. This kid has no chance. And it does beg the question, if you're Peyton, why didn't you just play Jarrett Stidham?
Yeah.
Like, just Sean Payton, you had to have known. Like, this is going to be pretty rough. And the hard part is now you can't bench Nix.
No.
Because if you bench him, you ruin him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you lose his all. That's why I give New England a lot of credit for what they're doing. Everybody always wants to see the rookie quarterback right away. New England's like, we're terrible. We're not going to put this kid out here.
Right.
He's going to kill. Like, let Jacoby Brissett be the pro that he is. Let him run the offense. Let him take some of the lumps. That's fine. He understands the game. He knows why he's here. Cool. All these other teams were like, hey, listen, hey, get in there and show us what you can do. And it's like, yes, it turns out not much. Like, I mean, you know, it's like Bryce Young last year. They just tossed him in there. And they're like, all right, Bryce, listen, we have no talent and the owner's insane and we can't block anybody. Go out there and win 10 games. Doesn't work like that.
It does not. It does not look like that. But let's look ahead to week 2 here. You mentioned Raiders and the Ravens. They'll be playing the Chargers and the Panthers. Chargers. Look, the Chargers getting off easy early. Had the Raiders week 1, Panthers week 2. I think they have the Chiefs week 3, right? If I remember correctly. 4. Yeah, that's right. I knew that they were in there, one of those other two. And then you mentioned the Steelers and Broncos. What game do you have on this weekend slate that you got your eye on?
Well, outside of Chiefs Bengals, I mean, I would say in the early window, look, the Thursday night game should be really good. I'll watch that.
Yeah, that's true.
I got to tell you, maybe this is the New Yorker in me that just likes to see the world burn a little bit. Got a couple for you. Jags Browns could be amazing. Like the desperate, it's funny in the NFL. Like it gets late early.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
There's only so many games. Whoever loses that game, it's full on panic mode. And like if Deshaun goes out there and goes 18 of 40 with 2 more picks, like we might be seeing Jameis week 3.
I hope.
And if Jacksonville loses to Deshaun Watson, they're going to be real like, oh my God, we gave Trevor Lawrence $55 million a year and he couldn't win that game. And Doug Peterson, is he any good? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, you're going to get all that stuff. So that's one game. The other game, which is also a matchup of all-in-one teams, the Jets at the Titans. I think a lot of Jets fans are pissed and like disillusioned, but also like, well, the Niners are a really good team. It was on the road. If they lose to Mayo Man out there, okay, if they lose to Will Levis, you're going to see a whole other side of Jets fans. And I'm here for it. So I does Tony Pollard run for 200 yards in this game? Because early returns say it's possible. And I am really, really curious. If the Titans beat them, I feel like that's one of those things you're like, oh my God. I feel like that, like I talked about Chase earlier, like how he handles if they lose. I feel like Aaron Rodgers, there's like a 20% chance if they lose that game. He's like, what do you want me to do? We have no talent. Like, I feel like we're just, what do you want me to do? Salah's got to, get this team. And I can't stop the run. Tell Salah to call a better defense. I feel like we're approaching that zone if they lose to Tennessee.
The picture of Will Levis on his knees after throwing an interception might be one of the funniest pictures of all time. Surrender Cobra on his knees. Oh no! Like they gave that game to the Chicago man.
He did it. He was like, "That was a bad idea. Why did I do that?" Like, you know what I mean? Like, it had to be one of. It's kind of like if you say something on a date, you're immediately like, "Oh God, shouldn't have said that." I feel like it was one of those like he let that ball go and immediately was like, and then just there's no string on that ball, son. That ball's gone.
Fell to his knees. So it's so funny.
The man knew. And I was like, oh my God, I just lost this damn game. I think I love Callahan afterward being like, if we had just punted the damn ball on every first down, we would have won. Like just completely through the entire offense.
And he's ignoring the fact that they had a punt block for a touchdown. Yeah. But nevertheless, Bears should not have won that game. But they did. Caleb Williams, a little bit of a rocky start for his rookie campaign, but look, it happens. He got it in the end zone. Looking around at the other ones, the Sunday night game is Bears-Texans. That could be a good one.
Yep.
And then the Monday night game is Falcons-Eagles. Obviously, the Chiefs do play the Falcons in week 3. Falcons are going to be on a short week after traveling to Philadelphia on Monday Night Football. It's not no Monday Night doubleheader this week. I believe is it next week when they have the Monday Night doubleheader?
Yes, it's week 3. You get Jacksonville at Buffalo and Washington at Cincinnati.
Yep. So you have, I think they're doing more Monday Night doubleheaders, I think, before like leading up to the bye week, something like that.
Yeah, there's a couple of them, which is weird. I don't like it. That's because I'm a traditionalist. I'm even though I'm 36, I feel like I'm 80 mentally with some of this stuff. So week 4, we get Tennessee and Miami in a game no one's asking for.
Right, correct.
And Seattle at Detroit might be interesting. In week 5, Saints Chiefs. Let's see if there's in week 7 there's another one. Baltimore at Tampa might be interesting. And then here's a game that maybe 18 fans show up to. Chargers at Cardinals. Like, is anyone a fan of these two teams? Do fans of these teams exist?
Also, Marvin Harrison Jr., what is going on?
Yeah, it was not great.
That is not good. He was like the slowest person wide receiver recorded. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I did see that. Also, like, Creed Humphrey almost had a higher top-end speed.
Yes.
Like, literally, like on that sweep play that they ran. Creed Humphrey almost outran any route that Marvin Harrison Jr. ran.
Insane.
Which makes me want to see Marvin Harrison Jr. covered by Creed Humphrey. Like, let's get Creed up there in the old press man technique. Yeah, Creed gets his hands on him, it's over.
It's true.
The problem is if he gets by him, it's over. So it's really going to be won and lost to life, that matchup.
Usually is. But yeah, no, I do think that this week football. I love that the Chiefs do play at 3, but you still get the little bit of the early window to watch Red Zone. Yes. The Red Zone watching is great. I don't usually like Thursday night games. I think the only acceptable Thursday night game is the Thursday night game to open the season. But then to have that whole weekend to carefree watch football is incredible. Just to Red Zone it up. And there was one point. We talked about the Saints in the Panthers game. There's one point Scott Hansen's like, look, we're not going back to this game.
I couldn't do it.
We're not going back to this game. He's like, we'll show you the touchdowns if they happen, but like, we're not going to put them back on the screen.
We have more dignity than this, folks.
Yeah, so like, we're not going to.
We're going to save everybody the heartache. I have a buddy who's going down to see the Panthers when they play the Chiefs. He's a Chiefs fan. And
might be able to get a good deal on that, though.
Dude, so he was telling me about it. He's like, man, if you want to go. I was like, nah, I don't. Like, I can't be bothered to do that. That might, I have to look it up. I'm sure it's happened. That might be the first road game or road team that's favored by like over 20 points in a game. Because think about, like, normally the highest line you'll see is like 13, 13 and a half.
Yeah.
Who the hell's taking the Panthers to cover that against Kansas City? Like, the Panthers going to lose that game 20-10? Like, who the hell's taking that? That line's got to be at minimum 17, right? Like, if these teams are who we think they are, that line's got to be 17, 18. I mean, I don't know that I know road teams have been underdogs by more than 20 points. I'm trying to look it up really quick, but I don't think a home team, has that ever happened?
Because there's no, like, you're not going to factor in a home field advantage for Bank of America Stadium, I don't think.
So according to sportsbettingdime.com, biggest point spreads in modern NFL history. So we're counting down. So it's the number 9 one was Chiefs versus Jets in 2020. Chiefs were at home.
Yeah.
The Chiefs were favored by 20.5.
Wow.
Yeah, they covered, by the way. Let's see. So the Pats played the expansion Buccaneers in Tampa, and the Pats were a 21-point favorite. Okay, so here you go. So New England, the year they went undefeated in the regular season, they played the Dolphins in Miami, and the Pats were a 22-point favorite on the road. Just trying to see here. The 49ers in 1987 were a 24-point favorite on the road. Oh my God. So I think 24 is
that's the number to beat, huh?
24 looks to be the high watermark. I don't think it'll be 24, but there's got to be a world that's a 20-point line. Like if Carolina is like 0 and whatever the hell they'd be at that point, 9 or whatever it is, and the Chiefs, let's say, are like 8-1 and just killing teams. It's Mahomes and Spags against Bryce Young. That's like abuse. I mean, got to be a 20-point line.
I was trying to see real quick on one of the sports books.
If there was a future line,
if there was a line for it already. It doesn't look like they have one.
Yeah, I didn't see one
because I know that like when the schedule comes out, they like release lines for all the games. But then I think once the season starts, they kind of pull them off.
You know what the original line for that game is, or was?
It was probably like what 10.5.
It was 7.
No shot.
I should have bet my mortgage on that. 7 points. They'd cover that with a wench if they had to do it.
I really think so. They would. Yeah.
7 points was the opener line. I have made a huge mistake.
That's a tough one, but should be a good week of football. I'm super excited for it. Another week in the books. Matt, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, it's been an interesting week. We got football back. We have Shannon Sharp on Instagram, which at first he was like, I was hacked. Then he was like, you know what, I wasn't.
I love that. I love that move, truthfully. Just be like, hacked.
Yeah.
First instant if anything bad happened, you just say you're hacked. So funny to me. Like, also, like, this might be a controversial take on, like, my end, but, like, I don't care what Shannon Sharp's doing. Like, truthfully, like, it didn't like soil my impression of Shannon Sharp at all. I don't
care.
Right.
Like, my biggest question is, like, how the hell did that happen accidentally?
Yeah, that's one thing that, like, I haven't gone live on Instagram before, but I would think it's more than just, like, accidentally hitting it in your pocket.
I saw somebody tweet out, I forget who it was, but somebody who was like, I go on Instagram live all the time, and it's a 4-step process, and, like, 2 different steps are like, are you sure? Are you sure? You know, like, I was like, maybe Shannon was just, you know, really feeling
from inside the building, maybe, you know? I mean, that's what you're thinking.
Yeah, you know, hey, listen, you know, things happen. I'm not judging the man one way or the other, but I appreciated after he was hacked, or he said he got hacked. He's like, yeah, actually, I didn't get hacked. I went live accidentally. These things happen. And somehow, like, I'll just put it this way. Between everything that went on in the world in the last week, and at least in this country, that, like, isn't maybe the craziest thing that happened.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot going on this week. It's a lot of ground to cover. You know, I had my daughter's dance class to go to bring her to at night, and so I was not watching what everyone else was watching live Tuesday night.
Tuesday's events, yeah.
And you go on Twitter and you just see, like, in all caps, like, they're eating dogs. And you're like, oh, like, who the hell is eating a dog? What's going on? And, like, I caught up with everything that was going on. Like, there's a lot going on. You know, there's a lot. And then the next day, Shannon Sharp's on Instagram.
Yeah.
It's like, what is happening? So, you know, good news is football's back. We can all just watch football. And they'd be thankful for that.
That's true. Have you ever seen the movie The Campaign?
No.
Oh, dude. One of my favorite movies, Will Ferrell and Zach Galifianakis, they obviously do a spoof on, like, a political campaign. It's for, like, a North Carolina Senate seat or something like that. And it's just it's a satire on, like, how political campaigns are run. And one of it is, like, one of the guys just running, like, nasty campaign ads, and they're going, like, hunting, right? Because they want to appeal to the hunting base and voters in North Carolina. And I think Zach Galifianakis just walks up and shoots Will Ferrell in the leg, and they're talking about it on, like, the newscast, and he says, and he went up in the polls after that. And it's just like, it's one of those things that it becomes closer and closer to reality. Their satire does, and it is legitimately insane.
Regardless of who you are supporting or anybody supporting, like, the one thing that cracks me up at every single one of these things is when, like, the moderator asks a question. Let's just say it's about the economy. It doesn't matter what the topic is.
Yeah, sure.
Like, yeah, what's your plan for the economy? Like, let me tell you something. I grew up in Georgia, and I'm a big Bulldogs fan, and they just go off on some huge things because they just don't answer the question.
Right.
And then, like, the other candidate, like, maybe that's their strong suit. Like, they hammer away at it, and you're like, oh, and then it's reversed the next time around. They're like, what are your thoughts on whatever, on immigration? And I'll tell you what, I'm a big fan of the old shepherd's pie there down in O'Malley's on 48th Street. Like, okay, so am I. What the hell does that have to do with anything? Like, it just, by the end, like, what the hell just happened for 2 hours? You know, and it's so great. But yeah, I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to watch. And I made the mistake of going on Twitter and like, all caps, first thing I see. I'm like, what's going on? Like, where is this happening? I was totally in the dark. I had no idea what was happening. And then turned it on. I was like, oh, okay. And, well, that's 2 hours of my life I'll never get back. So,
yeah. And here's an hour of your life that you're never getting back either. Thank you for listening to That Football Show here on KC Sports Network. Appreciate all of our sponsors. Holiday Distillery, Ben Holiday, Bottled and Bond Bourbon. Go check them out. We will be back next week recapping week 2, looking ahead to week 3 in the NFL. Super excited for you. So for Matt Verderame, I'm Tucker Franklin. We'll catch you guys next week.